Limpopo officials say they are focusing on identifying the victims of Thursday's crash at the Mmamatlakala Bridge in Limpopo. 46 Zion Christian church members from Botswana were on their way to an Easter pilgrimage in Moria when the bus went off the bridge. Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala has the latest for us. Nqobile, what is the latest on the ground? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chawa. So from yesterday night, during the day, we saw some of the officials, the paramedics, the EMS, working very hard to try and get as much remains as possible from yesterday. And we do understand that they've concluded just that part now. Most of what has been taken from the crash is now at the hospital in Nqobile hospital, which we know from the MEC that was speaking to us yesterday that she said they had body bags and they have quite a lot of remains that they still need to go through. So the next process now is to ensure that they have some of the people that were in the crash being identified. So it will start with the list that was provided by the bus, which basically states how many people were in the bus, who they were, and the next process then is to identify them. And once they have been identified, then they need to be identifiable by their family members, meaning that you bring now your ID, you bring the documentation. So all of that process, but now starts with ensuring that the remains that were taken from here are in Nqobile hospital, and that the DNA process as well is undertaken where they can identify who's what. You will remember that the crash was quite severe. So even though they did say that there are 9 people that could be identified, we understand that at this very point, the other ones were burnt. Some were burnt beyond recognition, which means then they need the DNA to identify who is who in what was happening in that area. I mean, we know that with the MEC, she said that it's quite a difficult situation, which is why the teams that are working on that scene needs to be very thorough in ensuring that they find all the limbs, because what they have found themselves doing is that they've looked for the limbs, for the parts that are there. So even though the crash is done, now the process of ensuring that they're identified and identifiable is now undertook. But now at the same time, you have the 2 countries that need to speak to each other and understand how the process will go about. And this is where we find the commissioner of Botswana, who has come into the country, who also was able to speak to the sole survivor, who's the 8-year-old, and we understand that they've already reached out to the family, as the sole survivor was able to give the number to the mother. So that process also still being undertaken, because the child needs to be obviously taken care of. The impact was quite badly. We know that she has been into surgery, and so that process is also being taken. But yesterday also we noted that we could see some of the families that had already come to the hospital, and that also underway, because even though they did come to the hospital, they still need to identify if they are in fact the families of the people that has deceased. So that's what's currently happening here in Limpopo.